Guys, I have an issue. I am very bad at recording videos in a timely fashion, and I'm hungry. Hello everyone, welcome back to Corner Twist and to the series Class of Sub 20 where I'll be teaching you how to be Sub 20. Hold up, that's not it. As fast as possible. If you are new to this channel, or rather this series, just know that each one of these videos that I make is supposed to build off of the previous videos that I've made. So the idea is that you watch episode 1 and then you work your way up to this one. If you do that, you have a greater chance of becoming sub 20 at a faster rate. Previously, in the very last video that we filmed, I filmed it, you didn't help me film it, you just watched it. In that last video, we went over look ahead, or rather a practice that helps with look ahead. So whenever we do our example solves today, just keep in mind that we might be implementing some of those practices from the last video as we go through our keyhole today. And that's right, that is the topic of today's video, keyhole. If you are not familiar with the concept, I've already covered it previously in, I believe it was episode 9 of this series. It was one of my advanced F12 tutorials. But anyway, I'm going to teach you the concepts of it today and also how to implement it effectively into your practices. Sorry, not your practices, your solves. So today we're going to be taking a deeper look into Keyhole, what it is, and how to implement it effectively into your solves. If you like the series and find it helpful, or you just like my face, consider hitting that subscribe button over there, hit the comment over here, do what you gotta do. You should know that I'm like buttonophobic, so I would refrain from pressing that. Thank you very much. I just want to hit that like button. Let's get into it. So, keyhole. What is it? Keyhole is a very specific technique that you can implement in F2L whenever you have a specific setup for it. It requires you to have one of your corresponding edge and corner pieces that will go into a pair already within the column itself, oriented correctly. For example, in this scenario, we have the cross already set up and we have this corner piece already inserted into where it needs to go. This would normally be considered a bad column, as we would have to pair these two up first and then insert them into this column for this to be solved. Like this. But whenever you have this specific setup, you can utilize keyhole. So having this piece already in the column oriented in the correct way is one of the components to making this work. And there's one more. You have to have at least one column open besides this one that you can use. So in this case, we have 3 bad columns that we can choose from. So we're just going to use 1, 2, either the left or right since they're closest. As you saw just a second ago, to pair these two up, it takes a little bit of time. You'd have to do this, pair them up like that, and then bring them out into a bad pairing so that way you can insert like this. And it's not like that's too bad, it doesn't take too long, but we actually have something way better. So the idea of how this works is we're going to take this corner piece and move it out of the way so that we can insert this edge piece. And that's why we need a bad column, so that we can bring this in to its spot. So normally this would be sitting here. We're going to utilize the delayer and bring in this piece that is of no relevance to us. So remember, since the bad columns are junk, we can just bring this piece in. We don't care what happens to it. Then we can slot in this edge piece, like this. Once we are done doing that, we can comfortably bring in this corner piece back into place, aligning all across as well. And then now we have a paired pair. So let's compare those two solutions up side by side. First solution is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 moves. However, if we were to use keyhole here, it would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves in half the time. Let's look at this one more time. I want to make sure that it's understandable. So the corner piece is already in here. The way that this would be a good column is if we brought in this edge piece and oriented the right way. We can't just bring in the edge piece like this, as it would take the corner out. That's why we have to move it. So starting from here, if we had a bad column on this side, we can take the unrelevant corner piece that's right here, bring in this edge piece, and that unrelevant corner comes out, so we don't care about it, don't really matter. And then now we can realign the cross, and in doing so, that corner piece was never moved out of its position, so it just comes right back underneath the oriented edge to make a good column. Now, as I've mentioned, this also works whenever you have a different piece in place. So in that example, we had the corner piece in place and then the edge piece was up, needing to go into its spot, but now we're going to try the inverse of that. So this works almost the exact same way. We have the edge piece already in place, oriented correctly, and then we have the corner piece up here. So normally if we're in this position, we can maybe sledgehammer this in but then we lose the edge piece that was in here. So that was the problem before, and we know how to fix that. We still need a bad column, so either this one or this one will do. And right now your mind might be on the right track, but maybe a little off. If you're considering bringing this bad edge over here with an E move, bringing this corner over top of it like this, and then doing a sledgehammer, then moving the E back, you are on the right track. However, this is not the way we're going to go about this. Instead, back in this position with the oriented edge here and the corner here, we can not use the E move, as that is harder on finger tricks. It takes a little bit of a regrip to do. Instead, we're just going to use the D layer again. So this corner piece needs to go in this spot here, in between the blue and the red. So we're simply going to take the unrelevant corner that's in place here, move it over here into our bad column, and then now we can insert this corner piece into that spot, like that. If you're confused as to how I'm inserting this here, just picture it like it's a good pair, and then insert this, just like you would into this spot, and then put it back. I understand that sometimes seeing it visually helps, so I went ahead and paired these two up. This is what you're more accustomed to seeing. So imagine that you're trying to put this corner into this spot. You would just move this so that way the corner piece that is in there right now, the irrelevant one, is going to be brought up and replaced with this one. So right now all we care about is getting this corner into this spot. So we're just going to act like we're sliding this pair into a good column right here. And you can see that half of that is in place. So we have the blue and red right here. You just kind of have to do a little bit of mental visual manipulating, or whatever you want to call it. Just imagine that this here is red and that this here is blue. So this, of course, is what it looks like. You're just going to insert this pair here, but then you're going to move it back. So hopefully you can see now, if you didn't before, what we're doing. We're just going to take this relevant corner, slide it over here, and replace this corner with this guy, like that, and slide it back. And with the case before that, it's the exact same way. We're going to picture that this edge is paired up with this corner piece right here to then insert this. And we're going to insert it into this column. So first we need to move this corner out of the way to preserve it, and then we're going to act like we have this pair ready to go in, insert it like this, and then move the D layer back. And remember, the whole time we need this column to be free. Now that I've said that, I want to show you what happens if you have a good column in place and you try to do this exact maneuver. So say that your D layer is currently aligned, but you want to misalign it so that way you can bring in this edge piece, but you do this. You had a good pair already in place in the good column, but now your relevant corner is going to be taken up and replaced with this one, and we're really only trying to go for the edge here, but you're taking relevant corner out and replacing it with an irrelevant corner. So it goes like this, and then now you realign your D layer, and it worked. I mean, you got this pair in, but then a pair that you already had previously in is now a bad column once again. So again, we can see the issue if we try it the other way. So we're just going to take this irrelevant piece that we need to replace with this one, put it over here into this good column, and then insert this, and then move it all back. And then see, you had a good column here, now it's a bad column once again. So you can just go back and forth with this if you continue doing it the wrong way. That's why you need the bad column to start out with, and that's where you're going to put your piece. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now we're back here, but notice that this time the edge is not oriented like it was before. At this point, if you're familiar with advanced F2L, you know that all this changes is that we're either going to have to do a rotation, or we're going to have to do a sledgehammer, some variation that involves just sliding this in. So of course we're going to take from our bad column over here, and then just do a sledgehammer to insert this, and then bring it back. And if you didn't want to do sledge there, rotating is perfectly fine. You're just going to turn like this, because we like to solve into the back slot. You can use this bad column right here to then move the corner out of the way, and then now you can insert this like that, like you would normally do with a good pair. Now you just need to realign your cross, you bring it back, and you see that this has come back as a solved column. Alright, so now I want to show you something else. In this setup, we have one bad column back here, and then we have the other bad column over here. We have the oriented edge in place, so we want to do a keyhole, but then both of the columns to the side of it are good columns. So the edge is here, and then the corner is over here. How are we going to accomplish this without our good columns being on the sides? Well, it's really no different than before, only we're going to take this irrelevant corner and we're going to put it underneath a column that is bad, and in this case, this is the only one. So let's change the angle real quick. So we're going to hold it like this, and I just want you to notice that this is here, and we're going to take this corner piece that is irrelevant, and we're going to bring it over to us. So now that you can see, this corner piece needs to go in place right here in between the blue, red, and white. And then all we're going to do is insert this in between those. So you can do sledgehammer here and then put it back. And then this will accomplish the same thing. Let's take this case again, for example, only this time the edge is not oriented. If you wanted to insert this, watch, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. Or if you wanted to do the rotation version, it would be 1, 2, 3, rotate, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 moves with a rotation, although that's probably faster just because of the finger tricks. Doing either of those is never going to be faster than doing Keyhole on this. So as compared to before, we had the 10 move plus rotation, or the 8 moves. This can be done in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves. And of course, remember what we just talked about. If these two are completed, but you have this one open on the back, you can bring in this irrelevant corner by moving the relevant one to its place back there, inserting this, and then moving it all back. So now that I've made you aware of this, make sure to look out for this in your solves, as it's going to be very beneficial for you to learn. But hold on, we're not quite done. I'm going to introduce to you something that we're going to be talking more in depth about later in the series. You can take this idea of Keyhole even back into the inspection of your cross. Let's check out this easy cross solution real quick. You've got an orange here, blue here, and red here, and then the green is right here. Possibly the best cross solution that I can come up with anyway is to move the D layer like this, that way all the pieces are relevant to each other whenever we put in this green. So if you put this in, they're all relevant, and then you would do a D2 to align them. Let's go back. Before we do the D2, I want you to notice something important, and that would be this piece. This corner piece is the orange, blue, white corner piece, and it's already oriented between the orange, blue, white pieces. So track with me here. Whenever we do the D2, this corner piece is going to fit already in place. So what exactly does that mean for us? Theoretically, we can take this edge piece and we can go ahead and insert it into position, oriented correctly, before we do the D2. And that would give us a F2L pair already before we even start the cube. Before we even start F2L, I mean. So still here, before doing the D2, I want to show you this. This is oriented, so all we need to do to insert it is to insert it into the back slot like this. Remember, we're doing this acting like it's a pair ready to be inserted into this. So if you can picture in your brains, it's the one where you have the white sticker here, the orange on top, and then the blue right here for the corner piece. That way they're paired up like this. You would simply either move it over here and then bring this up to then slot it in, or you can just move it to the back like that and then bring this up and slot it in. It doesn't matter how you do it. It only matters that you put it into place. So with that being in place, now whenever you align your cross with the D2, watch this. The column is already there and it's set up. It's good. So coming nearly back to how we started, I want you to imagine that you just picked up the cube, you just started inspecting. You can picture in your mind moving the cross like this, putting this in, and then doing the D2. But first and foremost, notice that you have this piece here. If you notice this and you can see your edge piece is up here, it's oriented and it's not going to be affected by the cross, you can think about how you can put this in before you align your cross. Remember in the last video we went over look ahead practice? This can be applied here. So you're just going to go very slowly. Notice that you have this, by the way. Put this in, and before doing your D2, at this moment you can be thinking, okay, I have the possibility of doing an X cross, which is what this is. This is called an X cross. The idea of having both of your pieces in place before you finish the cross. So you can then insert this piece like that, and then now whenever you align the cross completely, it'll be in place. Now I want you to look at this one. It's very similar to the setup that we just had. The orange is relevant to the red, and then the orange will be relevant to the blue if we just move the cross this way, put it in. Only this time, if we were to take a look around the cube, you could see that this edge piece is already in place. It's already oriented. And whenever we get done with the cross, if we have this corner piece that will correspond with this edge piece in place between the blue and orange pieces, that will result in an X cross. It might seem complicated, but all we need to do really is look for the corner piece and see how accessible it is. So we think of our cross solution, we think we're going to move the pieces here into place, and then we're going to do the D2. But before we do the D2, is it easy to implement this corner piece into the spot where we need to go? In this case, it would be white on the bottom here, blue here, and then orange here. You know this. The answer is yes, but you can probably think about it in your mind, but I'm just going to show it to you anyway. You can move the cross like this, just as you were going to do before. Put in the blue here, and then now you can take your corner piece and then do a sledgehammer on it like that, And notice that you haven't moved your edge piece out of its original position. So now, theoretically, this should be a solved pair. And what do you know? It is. One very quick improvement we can make to this, if you were able to actually think about this before doing any of your cross moves. Whenever you get to this point and you do your first D move, before you slide in this, you can bring in this corner piece and then bring this down. So yeah, it's going to do your D move, bring this over to meet this before you bring your cross piece down. It saves you from doing a sledgehammer, and then you can just align it all, and that will give you an X cross. So that is already one extension of Keyhole that you can do, but there's even another one, even more advanced. I'm kind of scared to show this to you guys because it is a very advanced concept, but I believe in you. I think you can handle it. So I've just shown you how to do Keyhole, and you would know how to insert this corner to go here by moving this irrelevant corner over here and then inserting this corner where that one is and then moving it back. Okay, we know that, and it's because we have this edge piece in place that makes this possible. But I want you to notice too that in this exact scenario here, we have a corner piece that is also oriented correctly in its spot. I want you to think about how you would insert this edge piece here using Keyhole. Well, we only have one bad column to operate from, so you would move this right here to move the good corner out of the way, and then we would bring in this edge piece to go here and then move it back. Props to you if you spotted this, but both of these two pieces are solved the same exact way in this scenario, because if we were to bring this here, this goes in here and then we move it back, and also we would need to move this out of the way, bring in this edge piece, and then move it back. This can actually happen simultaneously. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that for you. I'm going to solve both of these at the same time, and voila. This advanced technique is called pseudo slotting. It can also be called pseudo pairing, and pseudo means false or fake, so what it really means is fake pairing. Whenever you have a setup like this where you can do two keyholes at once, this is what it would be referred to as. So this doesn't come up very often, but it's very useful because you're effectively solving two pairs at once. So whenever you hear a name like false solving, you gotta wonder why it's called that. Well, it's because we're making a false pair like this. This doesn't look like it should be able to go in and be effective, as normally if we were just insert it into this column like that, it doesn't really give us what we want. It's still a bad column. But as you just saw a second ago, if we were to do this with Keyhole in mind, it turns into two solved pairs. So by creating a false pair, we're able to turn it into two good pairs with the use of Keyhole. Unfortunately, I'm gonna stop there. I don't want to overload you with too much, and pseudo slotting is just, it could be a video in itself. But I hope I've opened your mind to the potential of Keyhole and all that it has to offer. So very quickly, I'm gonna do one example solve, although I'm not gonna do a full solve. I'm just going to start from F2L and see if we can get any Keyhole action in. Definitely not gonna manufacture any of this, by the way. Alright, so in this non-manufactured scramble that I just did, I'm just going to show you my cross edges real quick. I've got these two already in place. This one's ready to come down like that, and then this one's just going to come here with a wide move like that. So yeah, very easy cross solution, but the main focus of it though is going to be this piece right here. This opens my mind to the possibility of an X cross. So I have to ask myself, what's the first step? I see the edge piece right here in front of me. Where is the corner piece? That should be the first question. So I take a gander around the cube and I find it right here. I know that whenever I input my cross solution, it's going to come here. So still in the D layer, and then whenever I input the blue, I should be able to tell without going through all the moves, but if you need to, go ahead real quick. This blue is going to come here and then down and then here. So it'll still remain here as well as the edge still remaining here. So back in the original position, we know where this corner piece is going to end up, and we can actually plan before we get done with the cross on taking this corner piece and putting it into the spot where it needs to reside. So it would be in between this orange and then the blue. And there's actually a nice little spot right before the solution of that cross that we can do that with. So starting very slowly, one, because I don't want to confuse you guys, but also two, we're going off of our last video, our practice that we've been implementing. Whenever trying to get better at look ahead, we want to be turning as slowly as possible whenever we do this. So let's start moving through our cross solution. So yeah, I'm just going to bring in this cross piece here, bumping in this corner piece. And then now I want you to think about this. Whenever you bring in this blue cross piece, it's going to go here. I'll just show you what happens real quick. So we do this. Normally, we would want this corner to come here. So whenever we do this, this would be the opportune moment to put it in. But there's a problem. If we do this right now and we bring it up into the top layer, we also take that edge piece with us. So using our problem solving skills, we're going to think of how we can avoid that problem. The best way that I can think of is to go ahead and remove this corner piece and put it up here into the top layer, and then fix this cross edge. That allows us now to do the wide move, put this in, but before realigning the cross, putting this corner piece back in place. Notice again how it fits in between exactly where it needs to go. Now whenever we finish the cross and undo our wide move, it is an X cross and we've done it successfully. But let's go back to step 1, as there's a couple ways that we can instantly improve. So starting from here, putting in this cross edge, we know that we're going to need to put this corner piece up here, so we might as well, instead of just do one turn like this, look at it and then do it. We can start from here with that full knowledge of what our plan is and just do the L2 like that and then move this out of the way. Then you can bring your cross piece back down, as that would be most efficient. That's the first way we can improve this cross solution. Now comes the next part. All we need to do now is bring in this blue edge piece and put it down here using our wide moves. So before we did this, and then we put it down, and then we put in this corner piece like this, but that's actually not the most efficient way. So starting back from this position, this is already here, we're going to do what we just did before, but instead of putting this in, remember we had something similar to this back in the video. We can now take this corner piece and put it here before putting this edge piece back in. Now all that needs to happen is the realigning of the cross, which can be done with either a D move or a wide U move, like this. So I want to showcase what this could potentially look like, doing it the ineffective way. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which, by the way, if you get a 10 move cross with an F2L pair, I would still call that a win. But now I'm going to compare it to the improved way. Alright, so starting back here, we've got 1, because it's a double move, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, compare those two. You've got a 10 move cross with the addition of an F2L pair, which is good, or you can have completed cross with an F2L pair in fewer moves than is recommended for the cross solution in the first place. Recommended move count for a cross solution is 8 moves or less, and that was 7 moves, so that fits within that category for just the cross solution itself. This way you're starting off with an extra F2L pair already right off the bat. Alright, now let's move on with the rest of the solve. Alright, so I might have already mentioned that Keyhole is not something that you're going to see all the time. It's going to be present in a good amount of your solves, but not everyone, and this, in this case, this is one of those instances where we don't have anything that we can work with. But if you just give me 1 second, I'll use some YouTube magic to help things go along. Alright, that's a little bit better. Now keep in mind, for this video only, I'm going to be doing a lot of looking around the cube, where normally we have just been sticking to looking at 2 sides, such as like this. Alright, let's check out here. We've got edge piece oriented in place, and then now we've also got an edge piece oriented in place here as well. The last column doesn't have anything going for it, as it's just bad all the way around. But for these columns, I would call them like half good columns. Alright, so let's check out the rest of this real quick. I want to find the corner piece that corresponds with this edge piece, as well as this one that corresponds here. Alright, so let's shift our grip to holding it like this. We can see that this is the corner piece that needs to go along with this edge piece right here, and we can utilize Keyhole. We know that because we have a bad column right here, and even though this is half good, I'm not really concerned about it, as trying to preserve this is probably going to be more of a hassle anyway, so we'll go ahead and capitalize off of what we have for now. So you may be thrown for a loop here, as we haven't covered the instance where the white stick was facing up, but it's not really any different than before. You're just going to turn it onto its side, doing something like this, and then now you can see that it's turned back into a case that's more digestible. So now we can take the irrelevant corner, move it over here, insert this with a sledgehammer or a rotation. I'm just going to do sledgehammer here, and then now we can simply move the D layer back, and now we have a completed Keyhole. Alright, so continuing on like it's a regular solve, I look at my 3/8 center. I don't really see anything of use here anywhere, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a rotation. So right here we want to do a little bit of deduction. We can see both of our edge pieces right here, and we know that this is one of our relevant corners, so we want to find out which one that is. I'm referring back to my video where I did F2L deductions, which would be episode 7 if you're wondering, but this one I can tell is going to be the one that pairs up with this edge, because this red will go here, the white will go down here, and then the other color on the side has to go here, which would match up with the green. So we can indeed use Keyhole to pair these two up together. Really, we can do just as we did before. There's not really any difference. We're just going to flip this on its side. And there's a number of ways you can do this, but I'm just going to do this the easiest way. To me, we're just going to spin it like this. We can actually do a double move like this. We can turn them both at the same time. See how I'm doing that? I'm turning the D layer and the U layer at the same time. So I'm just going to do this, and then now we can do the sledgehammer and then put it back. But you thought you caught me lacking. This time we're going to do it the right way, utilizing good look ahead. So back in this position, we're going to do the double move like this, but we're going to turn slowly and see if we have anything else in our vision that we can use. Using more deductions, we can see that this has the blue and red colors on them. So this might be a white back here, but we can quickly extinguish that idea because we see that the white is right here. And we've already solved the other two pairs. As for the edge, it's a little bit hard to tell because it can be either this one or this one. We just don't have a way of checking without doing a side glance like that. So really we're just going to keep an eye on this corner piece down here. We're going to do the move as I did before. Still watching him. This goes in. I see it come up like this. And then now I can realign the cross and I know where my corner is. This is nice because right as I get here, I see the edge here in my 3/8 center. And then to finish off the solve, I can just pair these two up like this, and then I can insert. Well, there you go, guys. That is your in-depth video on Keyhole and introduction to X-crosses as well as pseudo slotting. And like I said, this is not going to be in every solve type of thing, but make sure that you can make use out of it whenever you have the opportunity to. In the very next video, we're going to be going back into our cross solutions where I will talk to you about something I like to call openings. I think this should help you with your ability to take advantage of everything that your cross has to offer in your inspection time. So be prepared for that. That is all I have for you today. I appreciate you watching. I hope you learned something from it. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Alright, time to go eat some soup.